Top headlines. These stories are real, new now. We are hearing from former Governor Eric Greitens after he was exonerated from finance violations. What he has to say in a rare interview coming up. Plus, a funeral home in Branson is destroyed by fire. We'll tell you how cold temperatures impacted firefighters and how the owner is responding tonight. And today marks the anniversary of the shooting at a Florida high school. How students and families are marking the date by advocating for a change in gun laws. Ozarks Fox News at 9 starts right now.
Real, new, now. This is Ozarks Fox News at 9.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight on Ozarks Fox News at 9. I'm Jennifer Abreu. John has the night off. Tonight we hear from former Governor Eric Greitens in a rare interview, one of his first since his 2018 resignation. He was cleared yesterday of any individual wrongdoing in regards to campaign finance violations, though his campaign as a whole is still on the hook for some hefty fees. Our Jesse Inman has been looking into this and has that story for us tonight. Jesse, how is Greitens reacting to this? What is he saying about this whole situation tonight?
Yeah, you know, the thing that sticks out in many people's minds about Greitens' tumultuous tenure as the governor of Missouri was his affair that resulted in an invasion of privacy lawsuit, but that was dropped the day before Greitens resigned in June of 2018. But the more relevant investigation that ended up playing out until yesterday was into Greitens' 2016 campaign to become governor and its reporting of contributions made by two PACs, one of which was Greitens' very own nonprofit. So he told our affiliate KTVI in St. Louis that he's feeling pretty good about the news yesterday, and after the Missouri Ethics Commission, or the MEC, released its 18-page report that took about 20 months to complete. Now, as we reported yesterday, Greitens' campaign, called Greitens for Missouri, failed to report those contributions, and according to that MEC report, one was from the LG PAC, which funded radio and TV ads targeting his political opponents. The other was Greitens' own nonprofit called A New Missouri, which funded a survey that was conducted by his campaign. Now, the report found no reasonable wrongdoing by Greitens himself or that he knew about those violations. However, his campaign will still be on the hook for about $38,000. But if they can't pay that in 45 days, they'll owe about $178,000. But despite all of that, Greitens is viewing this as sort of an I told you so type of moment. And when asked if he regrets his resignation, he had this to say.
I've thought about that a lot, but it was the right decision at the time for the people who I love the most. And one of the things that we said when I resigned is I said, look, sometimes you got to step off of the battlefield and you got to take care of the wounded, and especially got to take care of the wounded who you love. And this was having a devastating effect on a lot of people who I really cared about. It was the hardest thing I have ever done.
Jesse, now that this is essentially behind Greitens, this is a question that is on everyone's mind. What does the future hold for him? A conversation we have been having in the newsroom. He still has a lot of supporters. So is it possible he could be making a comeback in Missouri politics?
You know, I talked to Chris Hayes. He's the investigative reporter who conducted this interview with Greitens yesterday. And he asked the former governor if he would consider running to become governor once again. And he said Greitens didn't really give him an answer, neither a yes or no, but he said he wanted to focus on what he's calling good news with this report. But technically, he could rerun to be governor as early as this year. We looked at his campaign status on the Missouri Ethics Commission website. It's still active, as you can see there. And under the election history, if we can scroll down there, it says, you know, he's got a section there for the upcoming Missouri state government primary. That's on August 4th of 2020. Now, that could have been updated during his time in office. There's not a date there that says when that entry was updated there, but the period to officially file for Missouri governor runs from February 25th to March 31st. So in the next month or so, we should have our answer.
Yeah, very interesting. We'll keep following that story. Thank you, Jesse. Looking around the Ozarks now, We'll take a look at some flames. These flames destroyed a Branson funeral home as dozens of firefighters worked in the bitter cold last night. This building is the Snap Bearden Funeral Home on East State Highway 76. Tonight, we are hearing from the owner of the business. Fire officials say the state fire marshal determined there was too much damage to the building to figure out how the fire started. This is what's left of the Snap Bearden Funeral Home. Western Taney County fire officials say 40 firefighters responded. Temperatures in the teens made the job harder, including the water freezing. Firefighters were able to salvage some documents and other important items from the building. Daryl Bearden told us he has another office to work out of, but he will have to rely on churches in the area to hold services.
But we've had a lot of support. We've had a lot of good people call, friends, neighbors, funeral homes, churches, volunteer or anything. They're not saying we'll do this or that. They're just saying anything you need.
No one was in the building when the fire happened and no funeral services were being prepared. The owners of the funeral home say they plan to rebuild. A sex offender in Buffalo is behind bars after not registering his social media accounts with law enforcement, which raises the question, how do authorities monitor these types of accounts? Dallas County Sergeant Tracy Lawson says a variety of sex crimes happen online. Dallas County doesn't use any programs to look at an offender's account, nor do they get notifications when an offender posts. However, the Missouri State Highway Patrol does, using a search engine algorithm. Lawson explains how that works.
If certain words or certain indicators come up, they actually flag for anybody that puts one out. But if it's put out and then it flags that they're actually a registered offender, then they're immediately reporting it to normally the state, because the state actually is the controller of the offender registry. We provide the service of registering them.
Lawson says a sex offender's privacy is quite limited. Checking on news from around the region, a Hyperloop that could get you between Kansas City and St. Louis in 30 minutes is once again a hot topic in Jefferson City. Missouri Net reports the Missouri House passed legislation that could help the project along. State reps added that project to a list of projects that could be funded through public-private partnerships. The 200-mile track between St. Louis and Kansas City would cost $10 billion. Elected leaders say the state won't be paying for the Hyperloop. The goal is to find private funding. The bill representatives passed also bans the government from taking private land to build a 15-mile test track in Missouri. Moving to political coverage. Some big issues moved forward in the Missouri legislature this week, and the debate continues around other key pieces of legislation. Our Capitol Bureau reporter Jeff Bernthal reports on what's at stake and what to expect in the coming week.
School choice, redistricting, and a prescription drug monitoring program are just some of the big issues lawmakers are deciding. During the 6th week of the legislative session, parents testified before a House committee regarding House Bill 1733. It would allow taxpayers to direct a portion of their taxes into a charitable scholarship fund. Qualified students could use the money to attend the elementary or secondary school of their choice. Supporters believe the bill provides options for parents unsatisfied with their school. Opponents say the state should send more money to public schools to improve education. Missouri could become the final state to adopt a prescription drug monitoring program. A final House vote is expected in the coming week. The measure received preliminary approval with a House vote on Wednesday. It's not clear if a PDMP program will pass in the Senate. Redistricting continues to be an issue dividing lawmakers. In 2018, voters approved a plan known as Clean Missouri. The plan is designed to make legislative districts more competitive. Republican leaders have called the plan flawed and have now passed their own redistricting plan in the Senate. If the House approves the plan as well, it will go to the voters to decide.
I truly believe that they stated what they wanted when it was on the ballot before, and I think that it will be borne out that they were right the first time.
Redistricting happens once every 10 years following the census, and 2020 is a census year.
I don't think that chancing it for a 10-year period is in the best interest of the state. So there was a timeliness element of it to it, given that if we don't do it this year, then we have to live with that reality. And it's a reality that I think is damaging for the state.
House Democrats will be discussing Medicaid enrollment during a news conference at the Capitol on Monday. Democrats have been in favor of expanding the program. Republicans have been opposed to it. Reporting from our Capitol Bureau in Jefferson City, I'm Jeff Bernthal.
Well, House Democrats plan on holding a news conference Monday. We'll have that information for you on Monday, and as always, on OzarksFirst.com. Well, let's check in with Beth now at the Weather Lab. Beth, very cold temperatures today, especially this morning, but a warm up for the weekend.
Yeah, we started off this morning here in Springfield with temperatures in the single digits. 7 degrees was our morning low this morning. Temperatures made it into the 30s this afternoon. Some good news is we've got some relief and some warmth on the way for this weekend before another cold blast for next week. We'll do that right after the break.
You're watching Ozarks Fox News at 9 with John Adams, Jennifer Abreu, and weather with meteorologist Beth Finello.